welcome to the Rob Burgess Show. I'm, of course, your host, Rob Burgess. On this, our 120th episode, our guest is Jonathan Abrams. Jonathan Abrams is an award-winning journalist who writes for Bleacher Report. He is the author of the New York Times-bestselling Boys Among Men. He was previously a staff writer at Grantland, the Los Angeles Times, and the New York Times, and is a graduate of the University of Southern California. His new book, All the Pieces Matter, The Inside Story of The Wire, was released February 13th, and is now also a New York Times bestseller. And now on to the show.
Hello?
Hey, Jonathan.
Yeah.
Hey, it's Rob. How are you?
Good, how you doing?
Good. Thanks for taking the time to talk to me. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Yeah, so I guess go ahead and introduce yourself for people that don't know who you are. Just start out with here.
I am Jonathan Abrams, and I'm an author. I wrote an oral history of The Wire.
Yeah, so I really enjoyed your book, and my friend Jonathan, another Jonathan I know, Jonathan Fowler, and we've known each other a long time. He's been an ardent fan of The Wire for years, and I'm a newcomer to it, so I was seeing it all for the first time, but he had always been pestering me to watch the show, and I finally did, and so that led me to read your book here. But I know you weren't quite as late a comer as I was, but you were not initially a fan of The Wire when it first came on TV, right?
I mean, I've met maybe two people who actually watched the show when it first came on. I was watching the show when it was still actually airing, but I didn't start from the get-go, no. I mean, that was back in college, though. I mean, shoot, back in those days, I probably couldn't even get HBO.
Right. So, but what was the what initially, when you first got into it, finally, what hooked you about it? What was special to you about it?
I think it was a show where the first thing that hooked me to it was just seeing such a broad array of black characters playing different roles, which I hadn't really seen on television too often before that. That was a rarity that I think a lot of the actors at the time also realized, is that you have black actors working as gang members and black actors working in the police department and black actors being in the mayor or in the mayor's office. And one of the interesting things in talking to David Simon, the show's creator, about it was that he was just trying to show the Baltimore that he knew and recognized as real, trying to show the accurate demographics, but at the same time, TV most of the time didn't really pay any heed to that type of realism.
Mm-hmm. Right, and I think you write in the book, or at least the people in the book also talk about this. They were snubbed many times for awards because it was like, turn on the camera, go to Baltimore, there you go. They didn't recognize that there was something happening, beyond the surface level, and then they were just like, oh, where's the production value,
Yeah, it was almost like some people almost thought it was almost like a documentary.
Right. For sure. Now, this book... sorry, go ahead.
Now, you watched it for the first time, and you have fresh eyes on it. How do you think the show holds up?
Okay. Well, let's get right into it then. So... for me, I was always more of a Sopranos fan, and that's probably one of my favorite shows of all time. And I never really got into The Wire because there was always that other show that was coming on. I was like, ugh, whatever. And then I watched 2 episodes, and I didn't really get into it. And then I watched, I was like, okay, and everyone keeps telling me this is great, but I need to keep watching it. And I watched 7 or 8, and I realized if I just watched a couple more episodes, I would have been all the way in, because it was really the shooting of Kima that drew me all the way into the storyline. And then all that tension that had been building gets released, and then you finally get that payoff, and I never got to that payoff to actually get slingshotted into the show, you know what I mean? So but you even have people in the book talk about this. It's a slow burn, especially that first season. It's it really takes a minute to get going, right?
Yeah, they drop you into this vast universe with so many characters, and the dialogue, you can't understand what they're saying until you get used to it. Mm-hmm. you've never seen a cop show where nobody shoots their gun. And there's just so much stuff going on that you're wondering, what in the world am I watching? It really, like, I think it may have taken me 4 episodes, I think, is like how much it takes most people. Like, you got to push through those first like 4 or so episodes, and then the world kind of comes together a little bit more, kind of see the players and the powers that be in that structure. But I mean, it's an investment.
Oh, for sure. And I think this show may be like, it's groundbreaking in so many ways, but I think one way that it's really established, and me and my friend Jonathan were talking about this, it's that cold open where they don't tell you what's going on, and you're just thrust into the scene, and you just have to figure out what's going on. I feel like that The Wire really established that as like a TV. It's now become a trope because everybody does it. The Walking Dead does it. You know what I mean? Like, it's like it has this scene, and it's extreme, and whoa, what's going on, and do-do-do-do, like, the title plays. But like the Wire did that, but it did it in subtle ways too, because of that. I was thinking that scene with Bubbles when he first tries to get clean in season 1, and he's just sitting in the park there, and the birds are chirping, and that's just as disorienting as some chaotic scene, but it doesn't explain it. The payoff is later in the episode when that's okay, so he's getting clean, and that's why. You know what I mean?
Yeah, those cold opens are killers. I mean, I think about some of the ones that stick out in my head, and it's like the standoff with Brother Mouzone and Michael K. Williams, Omar, and another one was in season 5, where Michael was running away from Snoop and Chris, and think that it's real, but they're only trying to get him prepared, and just I mean, they really opened the door for cold opens, among so many other things.
Sure, yeah.
I'm trying to think, because I saw The Sopranos all the way through once. Did Sopranos use cold opens? I don't remember.
They do, but it's less esoteric, I think. I think it's like you just see you kind of just, a lot of them are just like them sitting around the Bada Bing and, talking, and it's like a slice of life more than like what's going on here, you know what I mean? But like The Wire really is like, they're not afraid to confuse the audience, at least at first,
Yeah. And I think, it's groundbreaking in the fact that it was like, okay, we're not going to explain every single detail to you, and you have to figure out a lot of it on your own. But if you stick with us, you're more than likely to get it, and it'll be a payoff. Like, you'll feel satisfied. It's like, almost eating a healthy meal that's also tastes good. It's like.
Well, I think I described it to my friend Jonathan as it's eating your vegetables in a lot of ways. Like it's like this is good for you. Just open up. Like.
It is, and some of that. Yeah, some of that stuff that's like one of the quotes that David Simon described it, is like, a lot of the times the audience wants ice cream, but you got to figure out that, at some point you need to eat your vegetables.
Yeah, right, exactly, precisely. So, I mean, I think you said at one point in the book, if David Simon had not agreed to be in this book, it would have been a hard book to write. You got pretty incredible access to pretty much everybody I would want to hear from, that you could hear from. Obviously, some people, the guy that played Prop Joe has passed away, so there's all these other people. The one guy that actually was the drug pusher back in the 70s and 80s, I forget his name.
Williams.
Yes, he's passed away since. So, like, there's people you couldn't talk to, but you got a pretty wide range of people that, like, all the key players, I think, were represented. So,
yeah, it was a lot of fun to work on, and I think a lot of those people hold the show in high regard and really appreciate that experience, especially looking back at it in retrospect. It meant a lot to them in their careers.
Yeah, for sure. Now, who was the easiest person to get a hold of, and who took some real work to get to?
It's funny because both of the answers to that question were both of the two of the biggest stars on that show. So I got lucky with Michael B. Jordan because my old boss at Grantland, Bill Simmons, was like friends with his manager. So that was one of the first interviews I did, was Michael B. Jordan. And then Idris Elba was really, really tough trying to get him, because he's probably along with Michael B. Jordan, probably the biggest star to come out of that show. So it took a while to get him.
And it's but to sidetrack a little bit on the subject of Michael B. Jordan, I think that him, along with the guy that played D, what was his name?
Lawrence Gilliard.
Yeah, and Stringer Bell, Idris Elba, they were all very upset to find out that their characters had died on the show, because that was like they're working actors. They like to have a job, but to us, like the death of Wallace, the death of Stringer Bell. These are that's some of the most classic television I've ever seen. My heart was ripped out of my chest when Wallace was killed. But he died in season 1, but that informs the entire rest of the show, because we even have when Bodhi dies. Not to skip ahead, but when Bodhi dies, he has that conversation with Poot right before he dies. It's like, when little Kevin gets killed, and he makes the connection between that and Wallace, and it's like, oh, it's so profound because it goes on for so long, and it's like, man, that was like, he's the conscience of the show. But he dies in season 1, but he sticks with it the entire, like a ghost. He hangs over the rest of the proceedings.
So, I mean, you watched this show after you presumably seen Game of Thrones and everything that's been out today. Just imagine watching that show when it was coming on 15, 14 years ago. At that point, you don't kill characters who matter, who drive and move a storyline.
Yeah.
So, and it was just, even though I didn't watch it when it came on, I watched it shortly after, and to see those deaths, I mean, people are still, like Michael B. Jordan's, like, I still get Where's Wallace, almost every day, constantly. And, back then, speaking about how upset they were as actors, I mean, that was before Michael B. Jordan is Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah, of course. He's not worried about losing any jobs today, I'm sure.
Yeah, and, at that point, he's wondering if he's ever going to get another acting job again. And same with Idris, he was really starting to love that character, and, that's taken away from him. And Lawrence Gilliard even admitted that The Wire spoiled him. Like, he was so used to the crisp writing on The Wire to where he turned down so many jobs after his character had been killed off that show, to where, honestly, the next thing I saw him on was The Walking Dead, because there's a lot of characters. I think the Walking Dead showrunner is like a big Wire fan, so you see a bunch of Wire guys on that show.
Oh yeah, definitely. And Cuddy is on the Wire, The Walking Dead. So
it's Cuddy and Seth Gilliam, who played Ellis Carver. So yeah.
Right. So I cut you off when you were going to tell me who the hardest was. Who was the hardest to get a hold of?
Oh, Idris was the hardest. Him and Wood Harris, who played Avon Stringer, were pretty tough. But I had a angel on my side, and Alexa Fogel was a casting director, and she really believed in the project, so she was really pivotal in getting me some key figures for this book.
Yeah. Okay. I know we only have half an hour here, so I have a speed round for you. I have a couple of the Wire speed round questions. So, first of all, I just want you to I know that the Wire's probably at the top, but what are your top 5 favorite TV shows of all time?
Oh my goodness, you're gonna get me thinking on this.
Take your time.
All right, just off the top of my head, I'm a Breaking Bad guy. I think that show was incredibly well told. I always go back and forth on The Wire and Breaking Bad, but they're ultimately two very, very different shows. This is going to catch me off guard because I know I'm going to forget something, and I know I'm also going to name something that I didn't really want to put into my top 5.
But you always got to have that one choice that just makes you seem like, whoa, what's up with that guy?
I know. I was the last guy up through probably the ending. Friday Night Lights. And honestly, with my last one, I'm going to go with the show that I grew up on, The Practice.
I like The Practice a lot. I used to watch that when I was in college during the day. Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Yeah, one of those ones that I grew up on that I feel like, told criminality and legal justice in a different way.
All right. Top 5 favorite characters from The Wire.
Oh my God. Now I know I'm going to really get in trouble.
Well, we should say that The Wire is one of the most, character heavy. I mean, how many main characters of this show are there? 50 at least.
So. I was going to ask for a top 50. Okay, so we'll go with Andre Royal as Bubbles, J.D. Williams as Bodie, Wendell Pierce as Bunk. I mean, you gotta give it to Michael K with Omar. And I'm down to one more. Jesus, fifth one is gonna be hard. I'm gonna cheat on this, and I'm gonna say the 4 kids from season 4.
Whoa. You can't squeeze 4 people into one spot. That's not allowed, sir. I'm sorry. I appreciate your gusto. That's wow. Okay.
Buy some more time.
That was a good answer, though. I like that. Well, I mean, I should probably say that as long as we're talking about the 4 kids from season 4, I think season 4 has to be my favorite season because the ultimate payoff with them is you see why these characters never have a chance, and it's like lift yourself up by your bootstraps, and it's like what bootstraps? Like the only one that gets saved is Naaman, and he gets to go with Bunny, his family, and that's the only reason he's okay.
It's so random, right? Why Naaman is the one who gets to make it. It's like nothing he necessarily did on his own. It's just random.
Yeah, he was so mean to his friends. Like, why wasn't it like Dookie or somebody? But then that's the payoff of the show, of course, is that Dookie is the new Bubbles, and Michael is the new Omar, and it's like these perennial things that it's always somebody, and it's just them now.
Yeah. But I think Ed Burns, one of the co-creators on the show, called it the dandelion cases, where you plot one dandelion and 5, 6, 7 pop up in the same place.
Definitely. Okay, I have to tell you my main problem with The Wire, and I've seen it the first time, like I said, just recently, so I'm very fresh off of it. I really did not like season 5 at all. I thought it was very bad, and I'm a journalist, so I should like it the most because it's about the media, and I think that Gus is a very heroic character. But I think that the serial killer plotline was terrible. I think it was a bad decision, and it made everything else around it seem unreal to me. And I only think that because The Wire is a very realistic feeling show, except for that one thing, and then Lester Freeman is not only going along with it, but he's leading the charge. And then Templeton the Rat wins the Pulitzer, like, what? So...
I know. I mean, you're definitely not alone in that club, and I definitely can see why you have those sort of arguments. And to be fair, I have some of those same questions too. But at the same time, HBO was squeezing the show to just do 10 episodes that season and to just get it wrapped up, and it was really interesting. Pretty sure I was at the New York Times as a staff writer when that last season came on, so just seeing so many characters in the newsroom that I could identify with and know and feel like who they were was really interesting for me to see as a journalist working at a newspaper at that time. And then I really think that series finale, that capper for that giant 60 episode arc, was just amazing and tying everything up with the bow. So I mean, I feel like that finale really saved it.
What did you think about the Sopranos ending?
See, I only saw the Sopranos once, and I know that that's everybody's number one show, a lot of people's number one show, and I know that the screen turned black, and there's a debate over whether Tony was killed or not, but I don't really remember the circumstances that led up to it, so it's tough for me to say.
Okay, all right, fair enough. All right, but back to the speed round. All right, so what is your favorite end of season montage song?
Oh, man. I like season 2.
Me too. That's a good one.
What did you think of season 2?
I liked it a lot. I liked it a whole lot, and it would be my favorite season, except I think season 4 has to be number 1. Season 2, I knew it was coming. I knew the shift was going to change after season 1, but kind of had to, because the Barksdale crew's on their heels, and we've kind of run our course with that storyline for the moment. But I think it was important too, because I think Ta-Nehisi Coates said it on your old boss's Bill Simmons podcast. It was like, this is not just a black thing, this is a white thing, this is the system, it's dragging everybody down, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like, this is like Ziggy is like selling coke now. So but I like yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I got so mad, not mad, but Ta-Nehisi said that before the book came out, and I was like, oh man, so right on the point, because I have like the show's creator and the actors talking about that this was the point they were trying to make, and like Ta-Nehisi is coming out with it now. Yeah, for sure. But what is your favorite version of the theme song? I mean, I feel like season 1 is like the OG for me. That's the song that I linked to The Wire.
More than the Tom Waits original.
It is, because I mean, I'll be honest, I didn't know Tom Waits.
I'm not going to sit here and say I was the world's biggest Tom Waits fan before this, but it did make me listen to Tom Waits, though.
I mean, I was one of those guys who, the guy who played Waylon is like a famous, Bubbles' pal is like a famous...
Yeah, Steve Earle. Yeah, I'm a big Steve Earle fan, but I knew who he was before.
Yeah, and it's funny. When I talked to him, he's like, "Yeah, a lot of people like still come up to me and they're like, thanks for saving Bubbles, man." For that, than for his music.
It's like a fictional thing I didn't even really do. It's like more prominent than my actual work.
Yeah.
That's interesting, yeah. But you worked at Grantland, and what's your favorite memory of working at Grantland?
Oh man, it was just a really fun place to work at, and being around a lot of smart, fun people. It was a really good time. Like Bill was a boss who let you do what you thought you were good at, and he got behind you, and it was a really good experience. Yeah,
for sure. I was a big reader of it. So, well, is there anything else about the book that I didn't ask you about?
I mean, probably it was 300 something pages.
Sure, so. I'm absolutely positive.
But in this time span, I'm sorry, but I went with all the guys from season 4 for my number 5.
I can't say I disagree, because they're very indelible, and that's the other thing about the Wire too. If we want to go back to it, it's like, those kids, like, they were great actors, and like I think that they were like, a worse show with kid actors. I mean, that's when the show's dying, right? You like bring in the kid, the characters have a child for some reason. That's always what happens when they try to like keep it going. But they really brought it, and that was pretty unique.
Yeah, no, it was really great, and that was one of the. I mean, Prop Joe, the character, was a wonderful character on the show, but I really, really wish I would have been able to talk to Robert Chu, because he was also such a great acting coach, and he really helped push and prod and get those kids through season 4. But rest in peace, he passed away a few years ago.
Well, last question before we go. What music have you been listening to lately?
What music have I been listening to lately? I've listened to a lot of music, a lot of hip-hop. I really like the Royce da 5'9" CD that came out, I think, last month. So the Nas CD I've been checking out, although I'm a little bit disappointed in it. But a lot of hip-hop.
What did you think of the was gonna say Malice, but Pusha T album.
Well, I listened to a couple songs off of that. I listened to the Drake diss, of course, and that was pretty aggressive.
yeah, no doubt. Do you think Clips will ever get back together?
I don't know. I mean, Malice changed his name to No Malice, so.
I know he did. That was a very dramatic change. But yeah, I'm interested in that Nas album. I haven't heard it yet, and I've been hesitant to hear the Kanye West album because I'm such a huge Kanye fan, but I just feel like his persona has kind of polluted it for me or something.
Yeah, I definitely feel that way as well. I took I gave a listen, but I didn't think that there was anything that was really worth coming back to be honest.
And Kanye produced the Nas album, right?
He did, and if you listen to it, there's only, I want to say, 7 songs on it, so, which was, I mean, to be honest, Nas had a song like 2.5 years ago with DJ Khaled called Nas Album Done. Do you remember that?
I didn't know that was an actual song. I thought that was just part of a statement that DJ Khaled was making.
It's a song called Nas, and it was like 2.5 years ago, and it was like, you know, about his album being done, and I was like, oh man, this is great because this song was really great, and then 2.5 years later, 7 songs was just not worth the wait.
Yeah, I'm still over here waiting for Turbo Graphics FX or whatever, or maybe Cold Winter or whatever that was supposed to be.
So yeah. Maybe Detox will finally come out.
Didn't that come out though? Or no, that was Compton. Was that something else?
Yeah, the CD for the movie, the Compton, or the NWA movie.
Oh.
And he kind of, I think that was at the same time he said he was just going to drop Detox, and it was never going to come out.
That's so disappointing. That was the one thing I was holding out on. I always thought it was going to eventually come. Wow. I didn't know it was never coming. Okay. But anyway, hey, thanks for taking the time to talk to me. I really appreciate it. The book's great. I really enjoyed it. I think you did a great job with it, and I think the oral history format is very cool. So
I really appreciate that, man. That means a lot.
Yeah. Well, hey, have a good night, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right, take care.
Thanks. Bye. If you enjoy this podcast, there are several ways to support it. Join the Rob Burgess Show mailing list. Go to tinyletter.com/The Rob Burgess Show and type in your email address. Then respond to the automatic message. I have a Patreon account which can be found at patreon.com/Rob Burgess Show Patreon. I hope you'll consider supporting in any amount. Also, please make sure to comment, follow, like, subscribe, share, rate, and review everywhere the podcast is available, including iTunes, YouTube, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Play Music, Facebook, Twitter, Internet Archive, TuneIn, and RSS. The official website for the podcast is www.therobburgessshow.com. You can find out more about me by visiting my website, www.thisburgess.com. And if you have something to say, record a voice memo on your smartphone and send it to therobburgessshow@gmail.com. Include voice memo in the subject line of the email. Until next time.